Hello, my spider friends. We're here to talk about Loki, episode 2, The Variant. Now, I've had discussions with friends regarding this episode. We're going to talk about it. The first thing I'd like to talk about is the whole, obviously spoilers, Kang the Conqueror theory that is being battered around. If you're not familiar, he's a character from the comics, and his wife is called Ravonna Slayer, aka the lady what is Owen Wilson's boss, Morbius's boss. So her name was revealed in this episode. It wasn't revealed in the previous episode, but in the comics, Ravonna is the bride of Kang. And Kang does kind of look like one of the Time Wizard guys. So there's that. It could be a credible theory, but I did say to my friend, because of the line that made me quite suspicious, I've never seen the Time Wizards so interested in a case. They've never been so hands-on before. They want this variant gone. Could the Time people not be Titans, as I first postulated, but other Loki variants? It's a possibility. I tell you what else is a possibility. Definitely me theory on the multiversal creation, because the variants were not time variants of our Loki, of Loki Prime. There were multiverse Lokis. There was a Hulk Loki. Lady Loki showed up at the end. You know, like these are not primary timeline, sacred timeline versions of Loki. These are multiverse Lokis. Like, how was no one noticed that? Like, how could Loki be a Hulk Loki within the prime timeline? It makes no sense. On Loki's case file, he was listed as L1130, so that implies that there could be more than 1,000 Lokis that they've dealt with the TVA. And there was another thing about Loki being like the most prolific variant that the Time Agency has had to deal with over the years. So I'm again sort of leaning into my theory on the Time people are doing something to try and squash the multiverse. Because, like, if there's only one sacred timeline and they've been keeping that sacred timeline, you're not going to get, like, Hulk Loki as, like, a little branch off that timeline, if you understand my meaning. So let's talk about this Lady Loki variant. Don't like it. Like, every single Lady Loki ever has been like our Loki, in that they have dark hair. Like, I'm not saying that you couldn't cast a blonde woman, but put her in a wig, you lazy buggers. I've always sort of felt that if they were going to cast a Lady Loki, then it absolutely had to be Jamie Murray, who was in Hustle. She was in Dexter. She was in Warehouse 13. She's been in a lot of things. If you don't know who she is, Google her, take one look at her and be like, oh God, you're right. She would have been a perfect Lady Loki. She's such a good actress. I really, really like her. And she would have been brilliant as Lady Loki. I don't know who this lady is. Is it Sonia Del... This nice lady, I'm sure she's a lovely lady. Just, I don't know. For me, I was like, miscasting? Not a stellar, like, introduction, let me tell you. I did very much enjoy, however, seeing, like, the other TVA agents take on Loki and Randy Loki. I quite enjoyed them. One thing that I pointed out to my friend, it was so obvious that whenever the cloaked Loki was around, it was a male. Like, it was a guy in a cloak because they're trying to throw us off, and then as soon as it's like the end bit, it's a completely different body because of like the narrow shoulders and everything. It went from clearly being a man to clearly being a woman, and I thought that was a bit lazy. I thought, yeah, that was just why lazy writing. Like, I feel terrible sort of saying. I do feel terrible, but like it is also kind of obvious that Tom Hiddleston looks 10 years older since Avengers. You know, he doesn't look like 2012 Tom Hiddleston. I'm not saying he's not an attractive man, he's a very attractive man. It's just he does clearly look 10 years older. Not that that's a bad thing, but he clearly does. I'm sorry. So Owen Wilson's character Morbius, in the comics, is like a multiple character, and there's like clones of him, and he's also got names like Mr. Ouroboros or Mr. Tesseract, and so I was wondering if there were other Morbiuses walking around in the TVA offices, like unaware of the other's presence, hence the multiple rings on the desk from the glass and all of the things. Like he said, I don't remember bringing you that snow globe, and like looking at the pen, Franklin D. Roosevelt High School, like he didn't have anything to do with that. And she said, you know, you're not the only analyst working for me, did Miss Ravona. So I was wondering, perhaps there are other Morbiuses about. And also, because of the whole Ravonna Slayer being the bride of Kang the Conqueror, I wondered if maybe the TVA is staffed by people who have been, like, pulled from the timeline by the Time Wizards in order to try and prevent the multiverse from spreading. Like, they could have pulled her out of somewhere and she could be completely unaware of who she is. Like, she might have the name Ravonna Slayer, but she doesn't know that she's, like, the bride of Kang the Conqueror. Like, I'm not saying she's not met him yet. I'm saying, like she's had some sort of life and then it's been taken away from her. Similarly, I felt there was sort of seeding that with the whole Jet Ski magazine with Owen Wilson, and I did Google to see if there was any 90s Marvel superheroes who had a jet ski, but they didn't, so I think we can rule that particular side plot out. Now, at the end of the episode, Loki went off with Lady Loki. Well, not specifically with her, he just sort of jumped into the portal. So we were wondering, like, were all these time bombs going to be going into the TVA offices? Were they going to be directly to where the Time Wizards were? We're not sure. We're also really not sure whose side Loki's on at this point, apart from his own. Because, you know, like, if it looks like the Lady Loki's going to fail, he will side with the TVA. And if it looks like the TVA is going to fail, he'll side with the other Loki. I mean, that's just common sense. But we don't know. There's no point in guessing. There's no point in guessing because all Loki does is double-cross, backstab, lie. You know, like, he's telling Lady Loki, oh, I'm just undercover, but is he though? Is he though? You can't trust Loki, you really can't. So, like, my hopes for, like, and thoughts and theories for future episodes is that this is not the only Loki variant we're going to see. Like, I'm really, really hoping, really hoping that we're going to get old Loki, because old Loki is so much fun, particularly in the comics, and I'm kind of hoping that Kid Loki might appear at one point as well, because Kid Loki and Thor are adorable together. Not that I think we're going to see Thor, but, you know, like, it'd just be nice. It'd just be nice to see, like, the main Loki variants, as we shall address them. So, like, the next episode, we're only reaching the halfway point, and we've already got, like, what would normally be like a series finale type thing, where we've got the bad guy setting a load of bombs off at the place, and we've got more episodes to go. So clearly that's not going to go quite according to plan, and there's going to be something else that Loki's going to have to deal with. But I do think that they are quite... They're playing the cards close to the chest, a Marvel. They've learned their lessons. They have learned their lessons from WandaVision. For everyone just going like, Sorry, you couldn't see my mime phone. Let me do this. Ah, it's Agatha Harkness. We know it all along. Could it be Mephisto? No, apparently it couldn't. But also having Evan Peters in WandaVision was genius. Okay, so, I don't have any current working theories regarding, like, episode specifics, but overall, I'm still very much in the thing of, like, it's either Titans or it's other Lokis, and they're messing about to try and preserve the timeline for unknown evil reasons, but our Loki is not done yet. And like Loki, just Loki's a character who normally in comics characters die all the time in comics, and when you look the characters up, it usually says like something like currently dead, because they tend to come back to life, and there's very few characters who have never ever come back to life after being killed. Loki's different, because when Loki dies in the comics, it tends to keep continuity, hence like old Loki, kid Loki, etc. So I do sort of feel that like Loki will live beyond the Loki series. But there's no guarantees. So I wish I could comment something, but it's been a saga trying to get my comments re-enabled. But I think we're on the verge. So maybe next week. I'll definitely see you next week for more Loki talk.